Gotta work smarter, not
That's
harder.
it. That's it. We got it.
How's it going this evening?
Pretty good. Thank you for stopping by.
Absolutely. We're live now. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
who you're with and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. So my name is Jonathan Boland. I serve as the Chief Transportation Officer at the Rapids Area Planning Commission, and we also have what's called the Alexandria Pineville Metropolitan Planning Organization. So that's one of the organizations that's putting this study on in partnership with local consortiums and engineering firms.
Okay. What's the primary goal of the two meetings tonight and tomorrow night over in Pineville?
So this is kind of the second round of public input. So the primary goal of the meeting is just to, there's several different points. So the first one is to share with the public what we learned from their input that was provided from the first round, and then communicate how that was kind of relayed into projects and areas. So we wanted to, share that feedback with the public from what they provided. And then second of all, kind of get additional input from them. And so, where we are in the study is we're still in the public outreach phase. But, what we're identifying is that, okay, we know some areas that need to be focused on. What types of critical infrastructure should we focus on? What's the priority? Schools, hospitals, for example. The other part of it is we're trying to get input from folks from the neighborhoods where they live. So that's where we had the community flooding survey tool that's been out for us. And then the other part of it is to, again, not only take their input, but then share with them how their input was communicated and translated into projects. And then the other part of this is, okay, we need to start having the tough conversation. How should we help fund it?
How should we have fun?
Because it's going to take dedicated funds to not only build improvements, we got to maintain them. And we have to make sure that operating correctly, that maintenance is going on, and that when we need to expand capacity because things move, people move, populations shift, areas grow, we got to be ready to help build that to prevent this from happening.
I'm going to kind of step back to just this weekend, Jonathan. We had a big rain event this weekend. We got a good bit of water, and there was a significant amount of flooding, over in the Pineville area, but also here in Alexandria, kind of almost all over, at least from Lee Street on back southeast of us. You know, we're looking over here and we're looking at the critical focus areas that were selected. How were they? How were they identified for drainage improvements? Because it seems to me, when I'm looking at across the way over here, right behind us, doesn't include a lot of the things where I saw a lot of the flooding this weekend.
Sure, that's an excellent question. So when you're looking at this model, so we brought tonight examples of the model. So we're trying to think of areas that were regionally significant as far as like, hey, that I-49 exchange downtown. And of course, what else do we have? We have the Kithon Drive area because that's affects a huge number of acres, plus it floods twice. And then we had the Pineville Expressway because we're trying to consider both sides of the river. So the model itself consists of the entire 360 square mile metropolitan planning area. So if you're kind of curious where that area is, you can find that map on our website. But it basically starts with what are called the census designated urbanized tracts, plus where we think it's going to grow in the next 20 years. That's what we call our planning area. So you may have heard of what's called the Louisiana Watershed Initiative, the statewide effort trying to address drainage. They've been building a similar model for the state. What we're doing is a more detailed, granular level for our area, for the metropolitan planning area, as a resource to be used by all communities that are inside the metropolitan planning area. And so there's two parts to that. One, we're trying to identify the existing conditions. All right, where is it flooding? Where is it pulling up? Let's look at it case by case scenario. Let's see what's going on. So that's the planning side of the house, the existing conditions. And then the engineering side of the house is called like a HEC-RADS model. So what that basically is taking, okay, here's the existing conditions. Here's where the water's flowing. What happens if we identify this through the model with the existing conditions, through public input. Now let's look at these areas where we should be focusing first, critical areas, infrastructure, for example, whatever the public identifying through public engagement process. So we take that, and then the other part from Brown One, what types of improvements do they want? Everybody wants, a detention pond next to the house. People may want and need to understand what those options are, what's available to them. So we identify that. That's how we come up with this project. So 87 areas in the entire 360-mile region we identified. And so what we did was take that input of, okay, just like you see in this displays back here. So what types of areas should we focus on? So each color sticker that you see represents input from a certain zone. And so that's the zone map. And the zone map is based off of just the hydrology of the area where the natural watersheds are. So what we're trying to do is make sure that through this effort, we're getting input from all areas of the city. So, let's say at the end of this, we
Right.
say, we don't have enough input from a zone. We're missing input from a zone. We need to have more outreach. And that can be in different ways. It could be another meeting like this, or public open house, as we like to call it. It can be an online community survey tool. It can be what we call a meeting in a box.
Right, okay. Well, and that was right at what my next question was. Will there be an opportunity to, to make sure we got all areas taken care of, because again, there's a lot of folk that's saying that, hey, things are not including us. And why, I don't know, but, it's a real issue. I think you and I both, it's a communication crisis.
Yeah, it's communication.
Right. What, as we move forward, what criteria will be used to make the decisions on what projects that we begin working on? Because I'm pretty sure once you guys can identify all of the projects, then it's time to start saying how much it's going to take to get this done. And then from there, how do we prioritize what we work on first?
Well, it kind of starts with this process. So first of all, we're doing the study. So the first thing that's going to come out, even if we continue to do public outreach, which we do throughout the process. But my point is the existing conditions report. So that kind of is a starting point, if you will. The next part is to look at existing drainage ordinances, model ordinances from communities that are doing it right in other parts of the country, and coming back and, again, working with the public and local officials to kind of find out, there are little things like that we can do. Because it's going to be not like a triage or something, but it's going to be a multifaceted way, right? So one is, what improvements can we make, building code wise? Can we improve how things are built to help mitigate flood, right? The other thing is, what types of structures can we upgrade now, right? Building a brand new pump station is far more difficult than upgrading pumps. And so the other part is too, there are other projects from the full range of, hey, we need to upgrade this catch basin, to this culvert needs to be replaced, to larger projects, upgrading pumps, building new stations, cleaning out channels and canals. So you're looking at things like infrastructure that is, just to clear and snag and dredge a canal by a mile, just cleaning it out to what it used to be. It can be anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 per month. And you think about it, I mean, that just adds up. That's just cleaning things out. So that's the other part of the conversation. So, we started with the model to say, here's what's happening. Now we're working with the public to say, where should we focus? What should we build? Focus on building. The next step is, okay, here's how much it's going to cost. How do we want to help do this? So there are resources out there. There's federal, there's state. There are other resources that can be used to help improve stormwater, but there's other things that we can do, smaller things that we can do. And that's the other part of the conversation.
Right. When, maybe 2 years ago, there was a big initiative by the city of Alexandria to clean out some of the major drains throughout the city of Alexandria. But the water, I guess you guys say gravity fed and all, just it flows naturally a particular way, right? And so it appeared that the water in Alexandria kind of flow southeast to get out of the city of Alexandria. Well, we cleared a lot of the path right here in Alexandria, but going outside of Alexandria, when you look at those drainage canals and all of that kind of good stuff, they are pretty clogged up. So it looks like we cleared a path to get the water from the western part of Alexandria, but now we got this problem over in the southeast part of Alexandria where this water is flowing. It's still got it's got a big plug in the way, and it can't go out. And to me, this seems like a very low hanging fruit. You would clean out downstream so that as you progressively move upstream, you got stuff completely, flooding. Why don't, what happened to the maintenance per se to allow these natural waterways to get it so clogged up again?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it really comes down to the first question, which is who owns the waterway, right? So some are locally owned, some are parish owned, some fall inside a gravity drainage district. So that's the other piece of the puzzle. So if you look at Rapides Parish, there are only two gravity drainage districts inside Rapides Parish. And they're covering areas that you're saying, the ones that are being maintained and cleaned out. The other part falls down to parish. I think DOTD does a pretty good job maintaining the ditches, but they only maintain ditches on that side of the highway, only a certain right of way.
Right, right.
But, if you're looking at those areas, gravity drainage district one, their primary charge to the first one, that's Horseshoe Drive Canal. So they maintain Horseshoe Drive Canal. So anybody in that district, I believe they pay a village that helps fund that and those improvements. The same thing happened for gravity drainage district two. That's a new one that came about. It's really interesting. That kind of started with the 2016 flood that happened. So you had people out in the community, out in that area, flooded along the Pippin Drive area, and other parts of the community come together, and they went to the parish, and they said, "You guys got to do something about this." So, to make a long story short, essentially that led to Gravity Drainage District 2. So Gravity Drainage District 2 was created, but then it had to take another vote to get the funds through, in this case, also the village to help fund that. We know that there are other ways to help fund drainage improvements. And that's what we want to explore in this project as well, because out of all the options, every area is going to be different based off of its terrain. Some areas are going to flood more than others. But to answer your question, again, it comes down to funding. That funding comes down to maintenance. That maintenance comes down to ownership of that structure. So you have cases where, again, I wanted to offer that solution for the 2016, where it was the public came out, they voiced their concerns. In response, they created that organization. And some of those very people became board members of that district. So it's really interesting, but that's how a lot of those projects, and then those districts can go out and apply for state funding and other types of opportunities to bring additional funding in.
There is one question I hear
Yeah.
from the public. Street sweepers install drains in low-lying areas. Drains not,
They could have probably number two with the VFD.
drains should be, I guess they're talking about an infrastructure problem of where the drains are actually located and different things of that nature, and it causing clogs and all that kind of good stuff. But I guess we have one additional question that we have. How can we ensure as we go forward that we make sure, especially the marginalized community in Alexandria and Pineville, make sure that their voices are heard in this process? What can we do? And what do you think you need media to do to help make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to communication. So communication more with the media to get the word out sooner, make sure people are aware of it, but also communication as far as them providing their input, sharing their experiences with us. Because again, it comes down to the folks at the neighborhood level to help make a difference at the neighborhood. We're not everywhere else.
Right.
What we want to do is try to, again, make sure that we create new opportunities and venues for people to submit their feedback. So again, if you go to the website, the project website, you go to our agency website, which is www.rapc.info. You click on transportation, you'll see a link to the project website. And there you can find information about the project, other types of things. There's an ability for public online comment. Send us a comment.
Okay.
Send us an email.
All right.
And it's not just participating in this, there's the online survey. And we want to keep the door open to additional opportunities. So we do things like a meeting in the box, we do pop-ups, we can create another survey tool.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that we create all the opportunities possible to provide that input, because that's what helps shape the project.
Right, right, right. But I tell you what, we're committed to making sure that's going to happen. We'll be reaching out to some of the neighborhood folks to say, hey,
Yes.
let's come together and try to get the other
Yeah.
input in there. So,
Yeah, and-
so that's a commitment from us. We'll try to make sure
I
that.
appreciate that because that's what we need. We just need to be able to communicate more and get the word out. Because again, it's getting as much input as possible to shape what we come out with. That's how we get the impact.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me this evening.
Thank
and-
you.
And talk to our audience out
Yeah,
there.
thank you guys.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.
All right.
I mean, when you hear input,